The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. This is the second session for today, so we can kind of go over what. Oops, I'm circling here. Let's see what's going on. Here we go. Okay, let's see if show my screen. 1 second here. Let's. What is happening here? All right. Can you? Let me see if I can unmute you guys. 1 second here. We're going a little bit in circles. Okay, it looks like we're all here. Fantastic. Let me unmute you. There's Barry. There's Jim. And there's Ms. Stephanie. Okay. Hey guys. So what did you
Hi.
think? Hi. What was your thoughts about what we just experienced? Any
It
comments?
sounds like Stephanie here. It sounds like a useful tool. However, obviously just starting out and doing this as a first-time enterprise, the cost is certainly something that's of concern, I would say, because there are some, it being the first event, there are some unknown aspects.
Okay. Any other? I'll address that in a second. Anybody else? I know Barry, what you're going to say in about 2 seconds, because Barry and I have been texting behind the scenes. Jim, you want to make any comments before I jump in? And because Stephanie's being very very nice right now. Before I put the hammer down. All right, Jim's staying motivated. I'm going to put the hammer down on this. That was awful. I mean, the beginning he started out fine with what his I don't know why my page isn't loading here. With what he was talking about with Facebook targeting and LinkedIn and all that business, and quite frankly, that's basic stuff. I mean, targeting is available to all of us. All of us can do that. I don't do LinkedIn advertising. I looked at LinkedIn advertising, and I would do it. I mean, I just haven't considered doing it in some time because I thought it was too expensive. But if it's pay per click, then you're paying by the lead, which is just fine. So that's cool. But where it got really bad was the deal that we originally discussed the other day, which was he's charging us based on the conversion versus versus the lead to the preview session, two completely different animals. Paying his fees, which are a minimum of $1,700 per month, to get us X number of leads that were paying us a minimum of $200 based on what my model is right now for the event I was going to do is $200 minimum. That worked. That was about 40 something dollars per conversion, which is cheaper than paying an affiliate, because an affiliate we're going to pay anywhere from 40 to 50%, depending if it's a second tier. So that made perfect sense. But once he took that away and made it based on the opt-in to the free webinar or the preview versus the actual closed and paid dollar figure, that changed everything. And I let him continue on through because I wanted to see what he was going to do. But at that point, I knew we had a problem. And as we got to the end, when he showed us his numbers, and his numbers are incredibly flawed, which I'll get to in a second, I even said to him, I said, those numbers don't make any sense. And you want to talk about really bad salesmanship, he just kept going. He didn't pay any attention to what I said, because at that point, he just went in and started bullshitting up numbers. And Barry and I were our favorite word in our text for the past 10 minutes were bullshit, because that's all it was. It was just baffling with the bullshit. When he should have just recognized that this dog doesn't hunt. It makes no sense. Until we know what our conversion rates are, it can't possibly work. But the fact of the matter is, even at a 50% conversion rate, it still doesn't work. And yes, he's trying to sell us on lifetime customer value. Well, bullshit to that. I get lifetime customer value if I pay an affiliate 50% and don't have any out of my pocket costs. So why would I do that at all? It makes no sense. And his lifetime customer value numbers were completely screwed. And his 40%, I haven't seen a 40% attendance rate on a webinar in well over a year. He is full of shit, to be polite. It doesn't make sense. And as Barry said to me in the text, he's seeking agreement on the next steps when there's no extra steps to take. We never got agreement on my end. So, I mean, just really interesting in terms of where that went. Barry, you want to jump in on this? But I can't. Barry, can you hear Barry? Can you hear me? And can anybody hear me right now? Because I'm getting the circle of death here with GoToWebinar. I can't see anything on the control panel. I hear somebody breathing, which is nice, but I've got like the circle of doom going. I'm sort of frozen here.
I can hear you, Ken.
Oh, good. Okay, thank goodness. All right. Yeah, this 6.2.1 of GoToWebinar is sort of stinky. Okay, so Jim says, nice everything's done for you, but really expensive gamble. Yeah, well, it's no gamble. It's a total you lose your butt on this thing. The numbers don't make any sense, especially for all of us, because unless we know how everything's converting, it is a giant crapshoot. And starting out, even if you had a decent conversion rate, the numbers are still stacked against us. So, and I think he knew that at the end. I think he knew he lost, but he just didn't have to end the conversation, which professionally would have been. No, I couldn't hear you, Barry, at all.
Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. Yeah, you sound great.
He was going for the Hail Mary.
Oh yeah, yeah. As if it was like how.
He was running off the field and throwing the ball as far as he could.
Yeah, it was like how stupid does he think I am? Yeah, and
So
that,
what I said when you asked me a minute ago,
yeah,
I said, first of all, that was the absolute perfect example of how not to sell a high net worth client.
yes, yes,
Okay, there was no green lighting, there was no getting affirmation, there was no verifying the data that's being put into his sales tool. Okay, all of what he did is the proper process, but done in exactly the wrong way.
Mm.
At every point in that presentation, he should have got affirmation and confirmation from Ken before he plugged anything into that tool.
Yeah.
Because once you plug in something into that tool or any sales tool, that's something that the prospect has said, then it's a fact, even if it's wrong.
Right, and he did it once. He did it once with what's your conversion, and from that point on, and he did not ask about the webinar attendance, and he knows that I've done gazillions of webinars. So I mean, you're absolutely right. When you do that, the numbers are the customer's numbers, and that's what the truth becomes. But he didn't ask.
And either it makes sense or it doesn't.
Yeah, and he didn't ask me what my lifetime customer value is. He used bullshit lifetime customer value. But you know, at the end of the day, this is about lead generation and bringing people into your webinar, not about lifetime customer value. Because again, as I said before, we're comparing his lead gen versus somebody else's lead gen, and at the end of the day, like, you know, if you're going to use other sources like affiliates or paying people to mail for you or whatever, you know, the cost of the lead is everything, right? And the lifetime customer value is going to come from that lead, no matter which way you get it. So your cost per lead is that's what you're comparing, and his cost per lead is absolute bullshit. The cost per lead,
his cost per lead was astronomical.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, listen, on an affiliate level, which is usually the most expensive cost per lead, because you're going to end up paying, you know, about 50% generally, and you know, we structured it based on our plan at 40% on the front end, but it was a second tier, meaning that we have a broker brokering things out. So, for example, we work with Barry a lot, and Barry will bring us affiliates, and you and I will talk about that, my friend. But you know, Barry will bring us affiliates. He'll pick up 10% as what's called second tier for generating those deals. So there's a lot of people called super affiliates that will do that. So figure, you know, if we amount out 40% to the affiliate and we pay Barry or someone other like Barry to bring us those affiliates, we're giving away 50%. Okay, that's the most expensive lead you're going to get normally, because anything you spend more than that, why would you? Because you're not paying the affiliate until the sale is done, right? So that basically, I don't want to say it's free, but again, there's no risk there. You know, if the affiliate doesn't mail, you haven't spent any money. You know, so the lifetime customer value of that lead versus his lead is going to be very similar. Not necessarily the same, because the quality of the lead coming from a warm referral from an affiliate versus an ad on LinkedIn or Facebook, they will perform differently. They will perform differently. I can't tell you the exact difference once they come into our funnel, but generally speaking, that warm lead will perform better because there's already an affinity in place. You guys, for example, Jim, you and Stephanie both came from Holly. Holly and I have a great reputation. We do. We have a great relationship. and there was a warm enough lead. You respected what Holly said, and therefore you came into my world, and it followed through. So there's a better conversion rate there, right? Versus you saw an ad and then I'm still suspect until proven qualified. So there's a difference, and that may even overcome the 50% cost of that lead by virtue of the fact that lead is more qualified, or at least more warm. So, this guy hasn't got a snowball's chance in hell with us. But I wanted to debrief you guys on it because, when you start doing some of your own calls to have people do lead gen for you, first of all, before you make any decisions on that, I want you to talk to me, okay? But be careful because everyone spins things to suit their own purposes and not usually yours,
And I'll give you another example, and I sent this to you, Ken.
Yeah.
There's another company that does just about the same thing that we were just presented, and
Right.
probably on a higher level. Their cost per lead is significantly lower, but they still didn't deliver.
Yeah.
I had
Right.
a client who I advised against it that paid the other company $5,000 a month
Wow.
for, quote, a guarantee of 300 leads.
Yeah.
I think the end of the first month they had 33.
Yeah, it's bad. That's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I mean,
Because they didn't understand what they were doing. They didn't understand his needs and what he required in order to, what was required in order to get a lead in his business, which was the mortgage business.
yeah, we had spent a bunch of time on the phone last week going through stuff, and I kept explaining to him because he's used to singular webinars, not webinar series or webinar events like we're talking about here. For us, anyway, so that dog doesn't hunt, and he just didn't listen, and on and on and on. But great learning for us, in terms of what we have to look for, because like I said, we're going to be hearing a bunch of different stories. We do for sure want to be advertising on Facebook. We do for sure want to be retargeting. We do for sure, at least with you guys that are with me live right now, your target market is going to be a LinkedIn audience for sure because you're B2B. Okay, Twitter. I keep hearing more and more that Twitter may actually be good. I've not in the past heard anything good about Twitter and Twitter conversions. But he wasn't pushing Twitter very heavily. But nonetheless, Twitter is a possibility. I wouldn't rule it out, but not my top priority. The LinkedIn group piece is huge, by the way, huge. We should all be joining LinkedIn groups that fit our target. What he didn't talk about, which is logical why he didn't talk about it, we should all be participating in LinkedIn groups, and we'll get deeper into this further down, but we should be participating in LinkedIn groups in terms of offering advice, answering questions, and ultimately becoming a regular contributor so you have some semblance of respect. Do that for a few weeks and you've earned your right to say, hey, by the way, I'm doing something, and because you remember the group, come in for free, of course, to the free preview session, of course. So then you can do it. But if you do it anytime sooner than before you've earned the right, you're gonna be a spammer and you're gonna hurt yourself. But LinkedIn groups can be huge. Creating your own LinkedIn group. Very powerful, very, very powerful. So, that's common. I shouldn't say it's common sense. I mean, I have a whole module in our LinkedIn course that teaches that. I think I freaked him out when I told him, when he asked me the LinkedIn question. I was like, yeah, we teach that. He didn't even pay attention. And I told him we had our LinkedIn course last week. Last week, he said, you can do this all yourself. And I said, yeah, we can do it all ourselves. No question about it. I don't want to focus on it. I don't have time to focus on it. I want someone who, can focus and do better than me, who that's their daily job, rather than my having to be in 2 different places or 10 different places because I'm overwhelmed with enough that goes on in our business already anyway. So, so that the LinkedIn piece, really, really big, really huge, working deals with group owners for them to mail for us as an affiliate. Brilliant, great stuff, and a lot of those guys aren't that sophisticated. Some are, many are not. So a lot of that opportunity exists. My objective with this guy was to outsource for what I thought was going to be a good deal, but clearly not. Clearly not. I wouldn't put penny number one into that scenario. Okay. What are your takeaways from that call, you guys? What was the value that you received from us spending some time with him? Look, I'm glad it was only an hour, not any more than that.
Can I have a question for the benefit of the group?
Yeah.
Do they understand how to look at their numbers and then evaluate what somebody is presenting?
I don't know.
Have you broken that down on how, when you and I are looking at it, we're looking at the cost per lead, we're looking at the conversion rate and so on, and you're looking at what your cost per sale turns out to be. Do your people on this call understand how to do that?
We didn't get that. We didn't even go into that just yet. So
Okay.
we can if you want to take everybody through that right now, Barry, I'm totally cool with that.
Sure. Hold on. Let me go back and I'll pull up his screenshot.
Okay, cool. And then I'll just give you control so you can go there. And what I'm going to do too is as you prep it, I want to also walk you through quickly what our funnel is.
Okay.
And you guys are going to get a copy of this. We're using a drawing program called DIA, which is free. It works on Mac and PC. It's relatively easy to use. It's not. I thought I already updated this. I did update this, but we're gonna get reminded later because I don't have time to screw around with it. And anyway, so it allows you to do a lot of diagramming. I'm looking for something else that's just a little bit nicer for me to use because this is this emulates on the Mac, so it takes a little while to load. But here's the funnel that. Well, here we go. Okay, let me just pull it up. Well, Barry, as you load, I'm gonna show everybody
Okay.
the flow chart here. Where is it? It is TP Online Event Campaign. Okay, here we go. Let's open this up. Here we go. All right, you guys are all going to get a copy of this. I'm going to give it to you in the DIA format so that way you can edit it for yourselves. Okay. So this is the front end campaign. There's other campaigns that we have from referral campaigns, the pre-event reminder campaign, and the post-event that we have to look at too. But this is just the front end. And real simply, we start out with the sales page for the free preview. Now you saw
Ken?
Yeah, hey
Are,
Stephanie.
I'm sorry, are we supposed to see a slide or something?
Hang on, you are. Hang on, what happened?
I don't have anything.
Let's try it now. Okay, here we go. Thank you. There we go. You see it now?
No.
Hang on a second. You should stop. No one sees my screen. I'm supposed to be showing my screen. Let's try it again. Wow. I love GoToWebinar. They changed their version. They added this new version 6.21, and I can tell you that every time I do a webinar and I see this version number, it seems to be a problem for me. I'm trying to show my screen, and it just seems to be stuck. Here we go. Do you see it now?
No.
Wow.
Oh, there. You just
Okay.
came up.
Thank you. Yeah,
Perfect.
this is really weird. Okay. So what we're looking at over here, thank you for that. I appreciate it. We're starting out at that sales page for the free preview, and you saw a little bit of that from what Mara was working on. So if they opt in, we go straight to the thank you page, which sells the main event. That sells them in our case, our pricing will be $200 for the live event, $397 for the live event and the recordings, and then same price for the live event recordings, transcripts, and USB. Okay. If they don't opt in, then they get a retargeting campaign. So they're right into retargeting, which then brings them back to the sales page, which then brings them back into the fold. So that's this whole element right over here. Okay. Once they opt in and they buy the main event, then they get a welcome card from send out cards, and then they get email campaign number 2, which reminds them to come to the preview sessions. Okay, and actually that would be if they didn't even buy. If they bought the main event, I don't necessarily care about the preview sessions, but I want them to come anyway because it's free and it helps them, reminds them to come to the main event. Okay, so that's this piece right here. And so there's and then there's another. If they don't buy, then they get the email campaign to make sure they come to the previews, which then brings them to the preview, which sells them into the main event. The one thing that I liked what Nick was saying was they do 20-minute webinars. I was on one of them, which is how I found out about Webinarly. And I'm thinking about our previews, and our previews have been an hour in the past, and there were 3 speakers at 20 minutes apiece. I'm wondering, that doesn't mean I've made a decision, but I'm wondering now that he mentioned it, whether we want to do the previews at only 20 minutes so that they're fast in and out and people that are busy aren't intimidated by an hour-long free thing, but we get them into almost as if it's a podcast size event that we can do many of. So we should be talking about that, but it actually struck me as an interesting possibility, and we could mix and match them too. But that way it gives us a lot of content rather than just like five previews. Now there's like, 10 previews, for example. It's more time consuming on our end because we got to get ready for each one, but the benefit of it is that it's more to talk about and it's more easily digestible. So we need to consider that. I thought that was a good idea. That was my takeaway from that event, frankly.
What the people that I know that are getting the best results right now are doing
Yeah.
is they're doing sometimes even webinars shorter than 20 minutes, sometimes as short as 7 minutes.
Wow.
So if you had a webinar that would have been broken into, that would have been 45 minutes in the past, if you break it into one mini webinar on each component that's basically a trailer that leads into whatever it is that you're selling on the larger webinar, that tends to be what seems to be working right now.
Yeah, and what we're doing is we're using these as basic trailers. Here's a couple of great ideas. You'll learn more when you come to the main event. When you come to the
Exactly.
intensive. So that's what's all it really is. That's our entire purpose. So, but
and the people are covering one point in the short webinar.
yeah, and that the more I'm thinking about that, the more I like that, and I think I'm going to probably test that this time rather than doing the 3 speakers in a row. The one benefit of the 3 speakers in a row is that if, well, first of all, you're not doing as many from your standpoint, in terms of your time, but it's not about your time; it's about getting the result. The thing is that if a speaker doesn't show up on time or whatever else, you've got a couple of people that are already on there with you, so that you're not left in the lurch. But done right, there should be no problem with it. Someone that specifically has an appointment, you're reminding them of that appointment and so on and so forth. You should be good. So I'm liking that idea. I want to think about that a little bit more, but my gut says to me that we're going to revamp it and have 10 or 12 or whatever number of speakers that we've got, each one doing 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever that number is, just quickly enough to go, here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to get to learn. Here's one tip you can take with yourself right now and put into place to get a taste. Basically what it is a squeeze page. It's like a webinar-oriented squeeze page. That's effectively that's almost the way to say it. It's a live squeeze page, basically. So anyway, kind of getting back to this real quick. Once they sign up for the main event, then I want to put them into, they've already bought, I want to put them into a tell a friend area and give them a bribe or some kind of a bonus because obviously, they're already in the place where they can do a referral. So I want to get a referral out of them right now, whether I give them an affiliate piece or whether I give them a free product or I haven't figured out what that is yet, but some kind of bribe or bonus, okay? And then the thought is to give them a bonus video. Now, that could be a low-key offer like what Frank Kern does, which he calls a liquidator offer. That Frank will offer his video black box, for example, regularly. And he teaches for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then he says, because I like you so much, and because video is such an important part of your business, I thought I'd give you a really great deal on my video black box, blah, 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 love and kisses. Whether I want to do that or not sure. I'm still debating that out. It doesn't seem to hurt Frank's conversions at all, but because we're sending them to our event that's going to have a bunch of sales in it, it could go both ways. It could prime them for the fact that they're gonna keep buying, or it could set them off on, oh, he's already trying to sell us stuff, I got to watch out. So I'm thinking more and more that I might just want to give them content and then give them homework, a pre-event homework. Now the offer may be, it may be like, hey, listen, there's this course that's going to help you for the event. Go check it out. I might do that. But I want to give them some sort of a pre-event action step to get them to participate. Again, it's more buy-in for participation. Okay, and then it's
commitment and consistency.
Yeah, exactly. It's commitment and consistency. Let me see. I'm seeing some notes here. Do the third party actual speakers do the preview webinars? Yeah, absolutely, Jim. It's the actual speakers that are doing it. They're going to be talking about what am I going to talk about. That's exactly right. Okay. So they're basically doing 2 performances. They're doing the preview performance, and then they're doing the live performance. The full performance. Then I'm bringing them to the members area where they can get their bonuses. Okay. And then they get an application for their Compass seat. That's the hot seat. And again, I've got a bunch of pages that you'll see. I guess we'll probably do it on Thursday, just so you can see the whole funnel in terms of what the pages look like. And I'm going to give you the World Cairo Conference pages to see as we look at it on Thursday. But then they get an application to be part of what I'm calling the Compass seat. You can call it a hot seat, a love seat, whatever session you want. We do, remember, what we do is to fill the time between events, between speakers, between webinars. Well, it's all one giant webinar, but between each one, remember what I do, and I don't know anyone else that does this but me, I don't stop the show. The show must go on. So there's going to be a hot seat where we have a volunteer come on and get their business worked on for that 20 or 30 minutes in between speakers. Okay. Now, the beauty of that is that it allows you or someone that you're working with to showcase their ability to train and to coach. So in the past, it's been my friend Gina Gaudio-Graves. Gina's gone on and she's been the one that's facilitated it. And what's been wonderful about it is that she's also chosen the people and pre-screened them and done all that sort of thing. So I haven't had to deal with it. And when people sign up for Gina's coaching program, her bachelor's program, then I got paid a piece of that. I got paid a referral fee for that. So that was nice. It was a revenue stream for me. I didn't have to do any work. Life is good. Now that I'm doing my own coaching and have our Trailblazers program on up to Excalibur, I don't, as much as I love Gina to pieces, I want to obviously promote my services. So I will facilitate those. Okay. If you don't feel comfortable facilitating your own, then either we can look at something together, where I can help out with that, or bring someone else in who can, or someone else, as long as there's a fit that you'll receive some compensation for it. But the beauty of that is it does two things. It allows people to stay in the event, number one, very important. And number two, it helps you build that revenue stream seamlessly, because people are like, how do I get more of Stephanie? Or how do I get more of Jim, of Ken, of Barry? And you make it available. It's plain and simple. People want to hear more about you. You don't even have to have a speaking slot for that, because you're actually having more speaking slots than anybody else, because you're the one that's between each session providing gobs of value. So that's the basic idea. Now, they're going to get emails to remind them to go to the previews. They're going to get reminders if they haven't ordered their main event. They will continue to get reminders to buy the main event before that happens. And then when they do buy the main event, they're getting a second sales page for the main event. It's a different sales page for them. They're not, because the sales page for the main event initially is the congratulations for signing up for the free preview. Okay, so if they're already at the preview level and watching the previews, they're going to get to a separate page that already knows that they've been to the previews. So it's just a matter of continuity. Okay, so that's the basic campaign map, and there may be some more things that we add. By the way, one of the beauties of working on a program that is like this is I can go in and I can make a change on the fly anytime I want. So you will want to be making some changes to this to compensate to cover for you. Okay, so that's the basic way it looks to me. Now the challenge, if you will, whoops, hang on a second, I'm losing it here. Let me see if I can center it. I forget how to do that. All right. Well, anyway, the challenge is that what this guy was telling us to do was he was bringing the lead here. We need to bring the lead here, and that's where it gets expensive, because the conversion from the free preview to the main event, that's what we don't know the answer to. Now, I can tell you, I didn't want to tell him this because he would have completely freaked out, but the numbers for my first ever event way back years ago, my real estate profit training, were like 7%. Okay. Now, I don't remember what was 7% from here to here or 7% on all the leads. That I don't remember. I think it may have been 7% on all the leads coming in. So if I interpolate that, maybe I have to go back and look at my spreadsheet. But nonetheless, it was like 7%. But if it was 7% of 40%, then let's just double that to say 14, maybe 15%. But let's say 15% off of my people that signed up. I'd like to see it be more, but we don't know until we actually run it. I just can't tell you. And you don't know because you haven't tested. And your deal is going to be different than my deal, right? So we never know until each campaign starts, and then we'll be tweaking, you see. But if you're going to run a high number like 30 or 40%, you're lying to yourself. You've really got to be very conservative. If I ran 10%, which would probably be reasonable, I could still be off. Does that make sense? So you want to be careful about this because this is where the money gets made. I mean, we could color code this, with green, which would be where the money shows up. So there is a place to do that here. Um, it's a nasty shade of green, but it'll do for right now. Okay, so there's the money side right there. Okay, and we got to get them to that place, and then there could be money here as well. Could be, right? And at the end of the day, when they get to the event, that's where more money is, and then after the event, there's more money. But this is the big issue right here, getting them right here. Obviously they got to start here, but this is where the immediate dollar is to you, and then gradually they'll go from here to here or to there. Okay. Any questions on this before I throw things over to Barry? You guys are quiet, or I just can't hear you.
Is everybody still here?
And no, Jim and Stephanie are both muted. I see. Hey, Stephanie, just
Oh
unmute
yeah,
yourself.
we're here.
Okay, awesome. Okay, is
Yeah.
this making sense to you guys?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, cool.
I look forward to getting a copy of that.
Yeah, I'm going to pass it over. What you'll have to do is go online to DIA or search for DIA. It's a free download. If you're on a PC, it's easy, or easier. If you're on a Mac, it just takes a little bit longer to load. But like I said, it's worth it. And until I find something better, which I'm starting to search for, it works. And you can, customize things, and I can add circular things in different shapes. But it makes it easy to plan these things. And as you can see, um, if this were to load, I have a lot. I do a lot of this, with all sorts of funnels and things like that, because it just makes sense for me to be able to play. And what I do is I take these flow charts and I'll send them to my team internally, so they'll then create the whole piece inside of Infusionsoft, which manages all this. So it lets everybody get a better, clear vision of what's happening. And also, for you, what you'll discover is that as you lay this out and plan it, you'll start to think more logically. Well, what happens if they don't buy? What do you do with them? What happens if they do buy? What do I do with them? So it really makes you think more clearly about the logical flow of the user's experience. And that's obviously the most important thing, because you don't want to forget things like the tell a friend piece. I mean, easy to forget. Most people do, actually. But you want to have a tell a friend. And we did, by the way, in our events. We took them right to tell a friend, and then we took them to the compass seat on the same page. Now I'm putting it back here in the members area, because it's too confusing when you go from here to there to here, especially since I want to give them some content and value up front to reinforce their experience with us. I think it's really important that all the way through, especially if we got money from them, to validate that it was money well spent and give them some positive surprises. Another reason why I send them a welcome card with send out cards. It might cost me $1 to do. I forget the exact numbers. Maybe it's 70 cents or whatever. But it's just good business. I'll spend $1 per customer. If I'm collecting $200, even if it's $100 after affiliate commission, for example, I'm willing to spend 1% to say thank you to that customer, because who does that? Right? And then at the end, they're going to get a send out card. Thanks for coming. Same idea. You're doing things that people don't do helps you win the game. Helps you win the game. And even though it's not personally signed by you, but you may have you can add your own signature to it. For example, the fact that you did something versus nothing puts you light years ahead. And again, it's that customer experience that's the most important thing, because what our intention is not just to make money at the event, but also to build a long-term client and customer. And it starts from the very start, from what tone you set over here to what you're sending them and doing with them, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's why, and by the way, if you start to feel, just as a little bit of an overview, as you start to feel more comfortable with this, and they start to look at and think, wow, I need some more time, and I need to push my thing back. Push your event back so that you don't live in the state of, oh my gosh, overwhelm and stress. Push it back to the point where you're going to do it right. And that's why I want to talk to each of you guys. And I see Stephanie, you set up an appointment already. That's great. I'll look at the times on that and confirm. But I want to go through it all with you so that we're on that same page, okay? Because your first event particularly is going to have a lot of moving parts. And they all have a lot of moving parts. So I want to make sure you get it sorted out, squared away, real clear, and move forward from there. Okay, Barry, you ready?
Sure.
All right, let me make you presenter. and we'll do this piece, and then we'll probably call it because we've been around for a while today. So you should just accept.
Okay.
And then,
So what you should see is the screenshot from his closing tool.
hang on a minute, not there yet. Okay, now I see it. Okay.
Okay. Everybody sees that?
I'm seeing it.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first issue that you have here is he said that the cost per lead is going to be $20 to $35. All right. But then he talked about cost per lead on this tool of $35, so he's starting out at the top. And if you just work the numbers backwards, I don't know what point I copied this, but at some point he was saying $35 per lead,
Yeah.
and he was saying 60 leads guaranteed. So if you work that, that's $1,800. That's over $1,800 right there that you're paying.
Yep.
Okay. Then if you come down here and you look at the client conversion rate, these numbers are completely, the way they were presented on the call are completely smoke and mirrors, because these numbers did not come from any information that Ken gave to Josh.
Yeah, the only thing that he took was the conversion rate. That was all he did, and he had it.
Yeah,
he had the conversion.
He took your final conversion.
Yeah, and he took the conversion. His initial conversion rate was so bullshit, ridiculously high that it was like he knew he couldn't pull that one over on me.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's assuming a close ratio from the free webinar to the paid webinar of 40%.
No, that's the webinar. That's the webinar attendance. That's the attendance at the free preview.
Okay, that's the attendance.
Which is still ridiculous, because nobody. I'm sorry, but I haven't seen 40% in over a year. Sorry, if I get 30%,
exactly.
if I get 30%, I am dancing a happy dance.
Okay. And then he based the client value per visit. I mean, the client's average sale for the lifetime was 1,000, and then he bumped it up to 12,000. Again, he did not get any input from Ken on what his immediate client average sale or the lifetime value of that customer was.
Yeah, that would have been so important.
Yes, all of that information is inaccurate.
Yep.
Now let's walk through it and see if we can do it accurately, Ken.
Yeah. All right.
Ken, let's start out with the average profit that you're going to make off of each one, or the average sale you're going to make off of each person in this program. About how much money is that going to be?
Well, on the front end, you mean? On the front end,
Yes.
we have two choices. We have the $200 for just showing up, or we have the $397. Now I could average them out and call it a $300 number, or $297, or I could leave it at $200. I'd rather leave it at $200 just to be clear.
Okay. Now that's your immediate sale for somebody that responds to this program. What is the lifetime value per visitor for somebody that purchases this program?
Hell, damn if I know. Let's say my lifetime customer value is going to be, they're already buyers. Let's call it $1,000 lifetime. It could conceivably be more. I mean, someone signs into a program like what you guys are in.
Sounds reasonable.
It's
Okay.
on average, call it $1,000.
Now, Ken, if you have somebody that comes to a free webinar,
Yeah.
and when they come to that free webinar, what percentage of the people that actually, let me back up, I've got to put in another level here.
Yeah.
Out of all the people that register
Mm-hmm.
for a free webinar,
Yep.
how many of those people, what percentage of those people actually show up and stay for the entire webinar?
Oh, well, the show up and stay. Show up is I would say 20% will show up. The interesting statistics are that when you look at that 20% number, and then you look at your GoToWebinar reporting at the end, let's say we had 100 people registered and 20 people showed up, or the number was 20. You'll find that the report might show you 30 to 45 people that are coming in, coming out, whatever. It's fascinating what that report will show. even though you may never see more than 20 people in the webinar. But let's assume that it's 20%, because it could go anywhere from 10 to 25. So call it 20%. That's pretty reasonable. That's typical.
Okay, so what you're saying is if we start out with 100 people
Yep.
and 20% register, so
Yep.
we've got 20.
Mhm.
Hold on.
Yeah, 20
And
people.
then out of those 20% stay, so you got 4 that stay.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I was talking about 20%. Most of my webinars, most of them stay. I mean,
Okay.
I would say easily 90 to 95% stay. So leave it at 20 that have stayed through the whole thing. I got 20 people that'll be there at the pitch.
Okay.
You can call it 8. You can call it 18% if you want to be that specific, but 20 is reasonable for this exercise. I think.
Okay, so now let's work these numbers backwards that he was saying. You've
Uh-huh.
got 20 people that stayed.
Yeah. What's the close percentage on that?
Right.
Which I don't think he even asked.
Well, if you're God, your close percentage is going to be about 20%, right?
Yeah, if you're God, yes, that's right. And by the way, I've been God. I've been God many times. I've been God many times. I've even done.
Yeah.
I've gone as high as 35%. That's really nice. But if someone,
so let's say 25%.
no.
Okay, so that would be
No. Make it 10%, which would be average. Make it 10%. 10% is average. 20%.
10%.
I mean, yeah, 10% is an average close rate.
So you have 2 sales.
Yeah.
Okay, at $200 a piece.
Yep. $400.
That's $400.
Yep.
And you spent a minimum of $1,700 to get it.
Yeah.
How
Right.
fast are you gonna go broke?
Yeah, that's a good deal, right?
Okay.
Now, of course, you got your lifetime customer value of $1,000 a piece. So, oh boy, that means that you've got another couple of $1,000 there. So you made $2,000. It costs $1,700. It still doesn't make sense. Yeah.
So at some point in the lifetime of that customer, you made $300 profit, but you paid for all of it up front.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
And you paid for all of your GSA up front.
Right. That's a really good deal. Now let's look at it Let's look at it with an affiliate. Okay, so let's look at running this with an affiliate. Same numbers. What's your cost?
Mm-hmm.
My cost on that is $200.
$200.
Yep. My cost is $200.
Which on the surface seems higher, but when you realize how the deal for everybody.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing any of the work. The affiliate's doing all the work. The affiliate's bringing the person to you.
Mm-hmm.
The affiliate's collecting, is getting them to give their credit card to you.
Yep.
So that's why the affiliate model works.
Exactly.
Now let's go back over here to a variation of what he was trying to do here. Okay, because I used something almost identical.
And by the way,
we're
not talking, by the way, about not doing any advertising. We're going to do a lot of advertising. Don't misunderstand. There's just a better way to do it from what he's talking about. Keep going.
Yeah, and what you have to do is evaluate everything and look at it from the standpoint of return on investment.
Right.
But you have to look at it from the customer standpoint. So this is the thing I use to close $100,000 million annualized sales in the mortgage industry for a client in 10 minutes or less. And basically, after 5 minutes of conversation with a person, I found out, based on their own words, what their conversion rate is. Okay, and the promise that we give to them up front is that we're going to double their income and double their sales.
Okay.
Okay, in 12 to 18 months. So we find out what their conversion rate is. Their conversion rate I've dealt with people has varied anywhere from 5% to 40% conversion in this business. Then you look at how many more live customer transfers or leads they're going to need in order to do that. In the mortgage business, you also have to calculate how many basis points they're paid on. That means how much, how many points are calculated for their commission.
Yeah. By the way, basis point is 1/100th of 8%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So then you calculate your estimated revenue, the estimated cost for the live transfers, okay, and then the estimated annual profit, and then the return on investment. So I asked the same questions, and I didn't walk this through exactly the way I do it just now. I just summarize it. But I asked the same type of questions that he asked on that call, but I get all this information from the client. I don't make this information up. And what I usually do, if the client tells me 12%, then I'll plug in 10% or 9%. Okay? So, because what I
Yeah.
want to do is dumb it down, and
Yes.
then the
Yeah.
results are still astronomical for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all math. And that's the beauty. And by the way, don't lie in your math. If you're going to lie on the side of conservatism. But I can tell you,
Exactly.
when I first began doing my stuff in real estate years ago, I made the numbers work. I mean, basically, I lied to myself. I made the numbers work, and when they didn't work out after I bought the property, I was like, "Why aren't these numbers working?" It's because you lied. It's because you lied, dummy. You made them up.
Exactly.
Not so smart. So I'd rather you err on the side of conservatism and then exceed your projections. Okay. Again, this is why this model works so well when you have the presenters partnering with you to promote, right? And while you have sponsors partnering with you to promote, and while you have all the affiliates partnering with you to promote. God, Barry, I thought I had a lot of tabs open. Holy mackerel, you're worse than me. There's nobody worse than me. You're worse than me. Yeah, you need to close that stuff down. But that's why you want to look at things. Now we do want to be involved in paid advertising, and we totally want to do that. We want to do Facebook ads, we want to do retargeting, we want to do all that. But it's got to make economic sense. It just has to make economic sense. Now I know that if I bring them to a SiteRep webinar, for example, where I'm selling on that SiteRep webinar, we will do well. So it's just the math. It's just the math. And as long as my cost of the lead is significantly less than the cost of the sale, then it makes sense. You can go. I mean, when I first talked to this guy last week, it was going to be $40+. Call it $50. 25% of the cost of 20% of my revenue. So basically half of what I pay an affiliate. And I thought, fine, I'll do that all day long. If I got to go big bar and steal $1,700 to make $3,000. I'll do it all day long, and then make my first $3,000, and then just funnel it back in and grow it from there. Absolutely. Does that make sense? But otherwise, it doesn't. It clearly doesn't. So.
Okay, you can take control back.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to see what's on your screen. Let me get back to me. I just talked to our boy Max today, last night, whatever. Okay.
You talked to Bruce?
Yeah, I talked to Bruce. Yeah, you keep calling him Max.
I call the product Max.
I know. Yeah. Well, he keeps telling me he's 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away. It was 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks away in December. Which is another thing. Be very, very conservative relative to deadlines. So okay, we're reaching the second hour mark, and I have a wake up call in 4 hours. Is there anything else you guys want to cover right now? Anything that is crucial to you? Otherwise, we'll adjourn till Thursday. But I want to do takeaways before we do that. Anything on your plates that need some assistance right now? Okay, takeaways from
and you might confirm that they understood what we were talking about calculating value per visitor and understanding the numbers and not going broke too.
You guys, any comments on that? Yeah, Stephanie.
Understood the process. I have to admit, not as experienced in terms of having, high volume of sales to really be able to calculate the lifetime customer value. I mean, I'm guessing to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it sounded very clear the way in which you explained it.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, we're still going to learn lifetime customer value, especially if you're bringing that customer in a new venture like this. So you don't necessarily know because you're building it out. So all you can do is guess. But on the front end, I never even looked at lifetime customer value, quite frankly. Never gave it a thought. All I was looking at was, how am I going to get paid today? And that was strictly on the front end. I wasn't even looking at the back end of My guy comes in, he's paying the $200 or whatever, the $297 on the last event to come into the event. So there's all that revenue from there. Then the question is, how many people are going to buy? What percentage of the people will buy? Now, remember we talked about 10%. So if I get 10% in each of the sessions that are going to buy on average, then I round those numbers and interpolate them so that we will ultimately have X dollars on an average sale price of Y, and you'll know going in once you choose your speakers what your average price is going to be because you're setting all that. So you can pretty much do a back-ended estimate of what your net result will be from that event, and then interpolate just what the back-end sales would be for your coaching program, or whatever the back-end is you're going to offer. So that's what we'll do, and I'll get deeper into that once I get a better handle on who the speakers are for our event. But that's the idea. That's how I play it all out, and then I start visualizing what I want that result to be. Okay, but yeah, you gotta run the numbers backwards. You have to. What do you want to do? How do you want to get there? I will look at what I've also done is I've looked at the speakers and their lists. They say they've got a list of X people. Okay, you mail your list. What's your open rate? What's your click through rate? What's your conversion rate? And if we're mailing to 1 million people, think about it. If we're going out to even 500,000 people, and you should go out to a minimum of 500,000 people based on your speakers. Lists, right? So if you go out to them and you've got a 10% open rate and maybe a 20% click-through rate, or whatever the number is going to be, you can bring it right out to the number of people that are actually going to see the offer and opt in, and you can really take it out that closely. And I've done that in the past. Okay, you will start playing those numbers once you get involved with it. Then of course you
And
have
one caveat when you're quoting those numbers to somebody, if you're setting up a strategic alliance, make sure they give you those numbers so that they're accountable to their own numbers, not that you're accountable to their numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, it'll come back and bite you every time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about accountability further down the line, because one of the things that we're going to do differently this time has to do with a different intention for the event. We're going to be using a lot of what I'm doing, and again, you may be different. I'm evolving right now with my events and looking at repurposing them dramatically. In the past, I didn't. In the past, the only back end for that was selling recordings of it. Now it's taking each of those pieces and turning them into curriculum items and turning them into actual content items for some of the high-end coaching pieces that I've got, and as well as potentially different products. So I'm going to be asking the presenters to actually create homework or assignments rather, and other add-on stuff that would relate to a training. And by the way, I also want them to address particular points that may not be in their standard sales-a-thon presentation. So I'm looking for some customization, but I'm elevating them to a faculty position within the Institute. Okay, all part of the branding. So there's a different position for them. Now, I'm not just selling my stuff against the wall. I'm now a member of this whole, and I'll be around for a while because I'm faculty. It's not just a one trick pony. So we'll get into more of that moving forward, but that's the basic plan. Okay, so Jim just left. I think we just got your takeaway, Stephanie. Barry, any last comments before we call it the night?
Yeah, don't forget when you're repurposing that content, that content can be repurposed, or excerpts from that content can be repurposed into content that can be syndicated to drive lots of traffic to anything you're doing.
It really is huge.
Establish your authority.
It's huge. We'll take some of our Pathfinder sessions, or in the past our strategic implementation sessions, and we did one a few weeks ago. My video guy pulled out 17 little clips that we could throw on YouTube. 17 out of 2 hours. So that's, you can do tons of that. You don't want to do too much because you don't want to, you got a price value on all the recordings. So you don't want to give it all away that people paid for. But pulling out, 3 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 6 minutes there, throwing on front ends and back ends that can sell the whole piece or bring them to your site. Great for lead generation. Huge for lead generation. All that's available to you. And I can tell you, we have not taken the best advantage of that until recently, that I finally woke up and started to put it into place. So I'm probably going to have to hire a second video person just to do all of that videography, if you will. But well worth it. I'm not telling you to hire tons of people yet, but that's moving further along. So thank you guys. We will see you Thursday. And if you have not, I know Stephanie, you've already set up your schedule. I'll go look at it and approve it or figure out a time that works. And for the rest of you listening on the replay, make sure you do get an appointment with me so that way we can get you on the right track and on the right square. Thank you guys again. You are awesome, and hopefully you learned a bunch today. So I'll see you on Thursday. Good night.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye all. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. See ya. Bye.
You're welcome.